Thank you, Carol, and let's welcome Christina. Christina, floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that and for the introduction. And thank you everyone for being here to listen to my speech, Unusual Mating Habits in the Animal Kingdom. We are going to cover a number of different creatures that display interesting mating habits, including the incredibly unusual human being. But let's start with something a little less bizarre to start. The bird of paradise. So the bird of paradise, 44 species, most of which inhabit eastern Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and eastern Australia. This is a creature with a high level of sexual dimorphism, meaning that the sexes exhibit very distinct characteristics from each other, including things like size, weight, color, behavioral traits. For the bird of paradise, this is particularly distinct in the plumage of male versus female. And we will navigate, trying to share my screen for that. All right. Is that working? I now can't see anyone either, unfortunately, when I share my screen. Can someone unmute to let me know if you can see this? Okay, fantastic. So this is an image of a male bird of paradise performing its mating dance for a prospective mate. And you can see the female has these more brown feathers, whereas the male has spread this sort of skirt of black feathers in preparation for its dance. And I have also a depiction of this dance. Sounds like maybe someone isn't muted. If I could please have everyone mute, so we reduce the background noise. What I found particularly interesting about these dances that the male bird of paradise will perform for its prospective mate is that these are not instinctual. The male bird of paradise actually learns these dances from its father, including spending time practicing the moves. So you got to imagine what an interesting conversation that is. Son, this worked wonders for your mother. But at least the daughters-in-law of the bird in paradise family know that they're going to have similar tastes to their mothers. Next up, we'll discuss a creature, another bird, known as the greater sage grouse. The greater sage grouse lives in the North American West in the steppe, and it tends to live in areas with a dense amount of sagebrush cover, which hence the name greater sage grouse. The greater sage grouse, like the bird of paradise, displays a high level of sexual dimorphism, with the males being nearly twice the size of females. And they practice a system of breeding known as lekking. So for lekking, the males will gather together in one confined area, but stake out very territorially a small space in which they, like a vendor at a fair, will hawk their wares, performing their mating dance for female onlookers. The females tour the lek, observing the performances in order to select a breeding partner. And we will go on our adventure of screen sharing again so that I can demonstrate for you one of these dances.
While you're doing that, this is really interesting. I find it interesting that the birds like get together and learn this together. Is that something that happens with a lot of kinds of birds, or?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Lekking is a mating process that is done by a number of different types of birds. I didn't do further research to determine if it's something only birds do, but you're absolutely correct. Yeah. So this is a video clip of a male greater sage grouse performing its mating dance. It involves a fanning of the tail, sometimes a swishing of the wings in order to generate swishing noises. And then it
I'm
inflates
glad
this pair
you
of...
raised this question, because actually that's not the purpose of the swishing motion. And I've actually done a lot of research on this topic. And so I'll be happy to discuss that in more depth if folks are interested. The swishing motion is really about power and control and dominance. And I think it's important that we all recognize that. And I can happily share citations.
I would love to get some citations from you after this speech. I think that is entirely fair, the possibility that the wing swishing has both dominance and power demonstration as well as sound. I think that's a very good point. And in fact, what you can't hear in this video clip is the bouncing of these balloon-like yellow pockets that the male has, which he inflates, creates a series of popping noises. So sound is most certainly an important aspect of the greater sage grouse mating dance. And what is really interesting is that this is not a sprint. They don't show up and do this for a few minutes. This is a process that goes for months.
Christina. This is awesome. I'm just curious, how many birds are you going to cover during this presentation?
I'm covering 2 birds in this presentation.
Oh, just so, okay. Do you intend to maybe
Yes, correct.
further the research after today?
You're asking about research materials for this speech?
No, I'm curious to know if you would go beyond 2 birds after your presentation.
Yeah, I am doing 2 birds and then humans. So yeah, those I'm just covering 3 species in this speech.
Great, thank you.
So the greater sage grouse, as you can see, does this dance. It's a very energetic dance. And it does this not just for a few minutes, it does it for an extended period. Mating season lasts from March to May, and it will perform this dance in its sort of territorial space for hours every morning in order to attract a mate. And what tends to happen actually is some males, their moves are the best. They have the highest quality milkshake, and they will mate with a bunch of females, and some will not get any chance. So when it comes to the greater sage grouse, it's the milkshake brings all the girls to the yard, not the boys. So moving on from greater sage grouse to our final creature, the Homo sapien, aka humans. Humans are ubiquitous across every continent of the world, inhabiting even Antarctica. And humans exhibit a fairly low level of sexual dimorphism compared to other species, which tend to have much broader differences. However, there are differences in things like stature, weight, the morphology of the face, mortality, and disease prevalence. And while many species have a mating season, humans do not. Humans, however, do like to practice certain Lecking-like mating seasons. Sorry, this technology is fighting me. All right, they do practice certain Lecking-like mating seasons, including activities known as spring break and Oktoberfest, among others. Humans also have a tendency to use technology and devices in various kinds of mating rituals. Such items include things like medicinal aids referred to as birth control, They use their phones using dating apps, things like text messaging and the internet. In fact, using the internet, humans have built a massive industry around the simple act of watching other humans perform mating rituals. The human publication Forbes estimates that this industry represents $2.6 to $3.9 billion of commerce annually. Whew, that's a lot of money. Oh my goodness. And as seen in some human holidays, such as Halloween and Mardi Gras, humans derive a great amount of enjoyment from costumes. And some humans will incorporate costumes into their mating rituals. In fact, some humans will even go to the length of costuming themselves as other animals and performing the mating rituals of those animals, as one can see here in some humans replicating a bird of paradise mating display. Very surprising to the female in this case. So that brings us to the end of our discussion on humans. Truly, there seem to be no bounds to the lengths to which humans will go to amuse themselves and their mates. In sum, animals have developed a wide array of interesting and unusual mating practices. Humans are no exception. We often like to view ourselves as different or somehow set apart from the animal kingdom, and in some ways we are. Our feats of art, architecture, engineering, and war are entirely unique. No other creature creates or uses tools the way we do, for better or worse. But whether we are defying gravity in human-made craft or composing epic poems, our animal nature is undeniable. We're not just animals, we're social animals. One of the many lessons learned from the pandemic is that it has shown us in dramatic fashion how important our relationships to each other really are. So whether it's hopping in frantic circles like our dad taught us, bouncing our milkshake for months, or showing off how much beer we can drink because that's really sexy, you have to admit that we animals will go to truly amazing feats in order to impress the ones that are important to us. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters and honored guests.